Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to all of you to the webinar titled Indian Knowledge Systems, which will be presented by Dr. Vaishnavi. And may I now call upon Dr. Venkateshan, the chairman of CSI Coimbatore chapter and former placement director at United Group Institutions Coimbatore, who is also the trustee of Lakshmi Venkateshan Charitable Trust, to address the gathering and welcome us. Thank you.
Welcome to everyone. This has been a very special day for the CSI Coimbatore chapter, where Dr. Vaishnavi ma'am is going to address us on the Indian knowledge thing, which is a very exclusive product, which is approved by the UGC and then trying to put it up for the colleges. So, which is a very new subject. I welcome Dr. Vaishnavi ma'am, who agreed to be there for our webinar. I welcome all our members and non-members, special invitees whom are attending now. And Computer Society has been a 60-year-old computer association where we operate at our Coimbatore office, which is in the race course. We have a lot of activities on a regular Wednesdays. We invite the experts to talk to the students, especially the fourth Wednesday. We wanted the students to talk about the new high-tech areas so that it will be a standing board for him to go ahead. We have 30 colleges as our member establishments. Plus we have close to 1,000 members who all are there with our association. So this has been our strength of Computer Society. And I invite all of them to join our Computer Society. And this meeting is a very important meeting. I welcome again Dr. Vaishnavi ma'am, and then eagerly waiting to listen from ma'am on this new subject. Thank you, ma'am. Over to MOC.
Thank you very much, sir. And now may I invite Dr. Anita Sophia, the MC member of CSI Coimbatore chapter, who's an associate professor at PSC College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Vaishnavi.
Good evening to all. I take immense pleasure in introducing our chief guest, Dr. Vaishnavi, Deputy Director, Siddhanta Knowledge Foundation. Her work experience include, she was initially a research fellow at CFILT, IITB, then assistant professor at KG Soumya College of Arts and Science, Mumbai, Sanskrit vertical head at Gokula Education Private Limited, adjunct faculty at MIT ADTU School of Vedic Sciences, Pune, associate director at MIT Institute of India Knowledge Studies, Pune. Her core expertise in Indian epistemology, more focused on inferential cognition. She has worked in research, teaching, UG and PG General Sanskrit, and curriculum development of content based in Indian knowledge system. For around 15 years, she is also exposed to the language technologies and has worked in delivering IKS learning to STEM and learners, working professionals and Gurukula learners. So now I invite Dr. Vaishnavi to address the gathering and to share her expertise. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaste, all of you. It's indeed a very privileged pleasure for me that Computer Society of India has invited me for sharing some of what I have learned through my journey of Indian knowledge systems. I'm sure we are all from very different backgrounds, but I will try to share something and take away something. It's going to be an exchange of sorts is what I'm looking forward to. Because all of us belong to, almost all of us, I'm sure, belong to similar kind of, teaching, research-based fraternity. So I think it will be a very good exchange of thoughts that we will be able to go through today evening. It's my pleasure, and I am very, very thankful to the Coimbatore chapter of CSI for inviting me today to speak to this august audience. So let me start sharing my screen, and I will try to, I have also gone through some questions that were addressed. But anyway, let me see how far we are able to cover, the topic for today, which is Indian knowledge systems. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, madam, please go ahead. Oh, no, it's
No,
got-
not just a minute. I'll share it again. So basically, what is Indian knowledge systems? If we want to look at, this word has become a buzzword these days. Everybody talking about Indian knowledge systems. Suddenly, this thing is coming up as something new that wants to find its place in the education scenario, in academics, wants to get introduced to learners. So what exactly are we looking at when we look at when we listen to something like Indian knowledge system? So what exactly does it mean? So does it have any relevance today? Is it something that belongs to somewhere past in the history? What kind of, or is it something related to culture, heritage? General understandings of this term Indian knowledge systems, when we talk to people, what we feel is it is ancient knowledge. I'm just trying to put in some kind of understandings, what people generally tend to understand when we say Indian knowledge systems, that it is ancient knowledge. It is connected with heritage, culture, and tradition, things of those sorts. And maybe to some extent, we could include things like Ayurveda, yoga, that have some kind of aspects that relate to human health, or things like that. But if we approach Indian knowledge systems from, if we let us start querying about what exactly it is, what is the subject matter of Indian knowledge system? What is Indian knowledge system? And for whom do you think it is relevant? Who can benefit from Indian knowledge systems? Is there some kind of a criteria, or what exactly? How do we relate to Indian knowledge systems being in today's contemporary world scenario? That could be one question. And the other question could be why. In the sense, do we really need to bring in Indian knowledge systems as it is? Why should we do it? Or is there any other way in which we can approach this as a content of study? That could be one question that we want to approach. And the methodology question of how does it apply? So how do we bring these into application, or how do we use Indian knowledge systems? Is it even useful? So we start probing these questions. So when we look at the what questions, what question, which is what is Indian knowledge systems, we could say from a very kind of a broad overview perspective, we could say that it is a civilizational knowledge which has been able to sustain a civilization for millennia. So civilizations prosper, they exist, they come into existence, they prosper, and they kind of sustain themselves only on the basis of knowledge systems. They need to be working, knowledge systems. It is not just theoretical, or it is not just bookish knowledge, but we should be able to use them in our life, right? So what are the kind of inventions? What are the facilities? What are the sustainable practices? How did they come about? So those sort of ideas are usually considered when we look at how a civilization sustains itself based on a knowledge system. And then when we look at for whom does this, today when we are trying to bring Indian knowledge systems into education from a widespread perspective, not limited to just some departments like literature department or culture and heritage department or archaeology, or not just humanities based departments or language based departments, but we are looking at it from a more wider perspective, that where can we fit how do we bring them into the learning process when we are looking at it. Who can be, who is the recipient of this particular knowledge system that we are talking about? So it can be relevant to all of us who are, living in these contemporary times. And they can be influential both at life and work scenarios. That is the idea that we are trying to, because education has to have a holistic purpose to it. It is not merely for being able to, make a living or being able to get a job, but you also have to sustain yourself beyond that, right? So Indian knowledge systems can provide insights to people who are in contemporary, living conditions also. And then we have the next question of why. When we look at the why question, then we have this, do we need Indian knowledge systems as it was generated in a previous time? Then we find that that is not the case. We are not proposing that, the CKS, which is contemporary knowledge systems, are competitors, or we are not placing contemporary knowledge systems and Indian knowledge systems as competition to each other, but we are looking at them from just a minute. So we are looking at the contemporary knowledge systems and Indian knowledge systems as something that can be complemented with each other, wherein we can bring in some positives, some good elements of Indian knowledge systems to enhance or enrich contemporary knowledge systems and provide an edge to those who are, approaching this from a life and work scenario perspective. So, and then we also, when we say this is possible, that we are able to we will be able to complement CKS with IKS. If this is this scenario is considerable, then how do we do it, and what are the kind of applications where Indian knowledge systems can do this enhancing and enrichment is something that we can look at. So is there an aspect of application in IKS which can be used to fortify or to scaffold CKS is something that we can consider. So let us go. I'm just going to take this presentation to take each of these questions and do a little deeper kind of probe and try to justify or try to present to you as to how we can look at Indian knowledge systems as an enrichment to our existing academic or research based or even for that matter when we go ahead of it, professional or occupational levels, how we can incorporate them into our lives. I would like to take it to that level. So now if we look at, when we say that it is Indian knowledge system has been a civilizational sustainable system of knowledge, what we have with us is data which says that I would request you all to focus on the pink bar over here, the pink color which represents the composition of India in this scenario where we are looking at the share of world GDP and what was the contribution of India when we look at what it contributed to the world economy. We find that even up to 1870s, very much, we find that it was on a little up. Of course, it was best or in the initial up to 1700s and 1800, beginning of 1800s. But then we find that this India's share of world economy declines gradually after the Indian knowledge system ceased to be part and parcel of our education system. So till then, we can easily say for more than a millennium, we find that there was a knowledge system which was capable of generating a very high share of income in the world economy. Similarly, when we look at the global industrial output, we find that up to even 1750, the global industrial output was close to 25% of the world global output, and which declined very, very feebly down to 2% in the 1900s, when the Indian knowledge systems were pushed out gradually, marginalized. I may not say maybe pushed out, but marginalized from being the mainstream learning system in India. So we understand that technology can bring in a kind of a boom for some period of time. Some technology comes in, and then there is something that some sort of a change in the scenario, change in world scenario comes about. But sustaining that for consistently for a long period of time takes there has to be essence, there has to be strength and robustness in that particular system to ensure sustainability. Now, when we see that more than a millennium, the data that we have here is from 1000 common era and something like that, but doesn't mean that we didn't have any kind of a civilizational existence before that. So considering that this particular sustainable, more than 800 years of data is available to us right away in front of us, but we need to understand that there was a knowledge system that was sustaining itself, that was sustaining the economy, sustaining the development of a particular civilization in the form of India. And we know, we all will agree that India is one of the very few civilizations that have survived through ages of invasion and exploitation and all of these, and in spite of it we have retained whatever quantum of sustainability that we have today, right? So what exactly is the basis of this knowledge system, which is what is the governing idea of this knowledge system that forms this civilizational knowledge, if we want to look at it from that perspective. Basically, to put it in very simple terms, what is the knowledge model that Indian knowledge systems use, if we want to consider that? Knowledge in Indian terms has been known as Vidya. We all know this. Vidya is a very common term that all of us are aware, or we all are familiar with. So Vidya, which is knowledge, how do you define Vidya? If you want to have a definition for knowledge or Vidya, the definition that the Indian thought or Indian thinkers gave is that which liberates is Vidya. That which liberates is knowledge. So liberates from what? From our everyday ignorances, our difficulties, our so far I did not have a washing machine to wash clothes. Now Vidya is able to bring in some knowledge, is able to bring in an idea of a washing machine that liberates me from the labor of performing something. So I'm just giving you a very mundane idea, but the idea is whatever is capable of any skill, so somebody who's literate, for instance, if you can look at what would be the scenario of awareness and understanding of a person who is literate and non-literate, right? So somebody who is literate is liberated to that extent when compared to somebody who is illiterate. So in that sense, the definition of Vidya that is seen in the Indian knowledge arena is that which liberates. And so this liberation itself is a kind of classified into two forms. One which involves personal individual at one's own level spiritual excellence, which is also termed as moksha. And then you have material abundance. So these are called as abhyudaya and nishreyas. So abhyudaya is material abundance. So freedoms in the form of having material abundance and having spiritual excellence. So Vidya is able to cater to both of them. The idea is that Vidya is not just there only for us to give, emancipation, the final emancipation, so-called, liberation from, life and death. It's not just, we are not talking about just a very, esoteric idea of, a state of a person, but we are talking about material abundance, which is also provided through Vidya. And the basic building block of all actions, all individuals, all beings are oriented towards performing some or the other action, which more or less as a result entails in gaining Vidya, in gaining cognition, in gaining knowledge. So there is not a single moment in our life when we are not, knowing something. In every waking moment that we are present to our surroundings, we are always knowing something. And this knowing prompts us to act. So the knowledge being the input and action being the output. And this action is again not prompted only by the idea of, knowing something, but also by what we call as purusharthas, which is nothing but the purpose of human life, which is called as, which is classified as dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So our pursuit in life is for the sake of either earning dharma or earning artha or earning kama or earning moksha. So all our activities are usually oriented towards pursuing or achieving one of these purusharthas. Most of the time when we are in a worldly sort of frame of life, we are driven by artha, which is wealth or resource, and kama, which is desire of any sort is. So likes and dislikes, we are led by likes and dislikes. And when we attach the idea of having or governing them through dharma, so my artha and kama, when they are governed through dharma, then what happens is you are able to bring in the idea of sustainability, and you're also able to bring in the idea of freedom, because dharma has the capacity to liberate it, and it ensures that your actions do not lead to your to your entangling yourself into some kind of repercussions. Dharma is of course, as most of you would know, a very multi sense synonym, lots of synonyms that you can give for dharma. But the idea is this, that dharma is the one factor which we keep in mind and align our artha and kama, our pursuits for desire and for material life. If we are able to align it through dharma, then we are sure about freedom. A simple example that I can give you is law and order, for instance, is governed by dharma. Dharma is nothing but law and order. When you ensure that your actions are in alignment with law and order, in your pursuit for artha and kama, in your pursuit for material and material life and likes and dislikes, you are free. You're not behind the bars, right? So whatever is the idea of law and order that we find in a mundane setup is what dharma is about, right? So this is called as Trivarga, dharma, artha, kama, which deals with the way, the pursuits that we have at a worldly existence, and moksha is considered to be a for people who are trying to surpass the worldly understanding and contemplate deeper and try to look at spiritual excellence, right? So when we look at the sources of Indian knowledge systems which are able to guide us or let us go through this understanding of how to be aligned with or rather gain the knowledge that will be required for us to orient ourselves to the life of dharma, then we find that there are many dharmic systems of Indian knowledge systems. So dharmic means that which aligns with the idea of living a living a life aligned to dharma. So there is, in the Indian landscape, we find there is a Vedic system, then there is Buddhism, Jainism, and there is Sikhism. And in the Vedic system, there are 18 Vidyasthanas, which I will not go into a great detail right now. You can always, Google out these terminologies. You will be able to easily know what these 18 Vidyasthanas or knowledge systems are. And there are practical crafts. So in Tamil also you have the 64 Kalaigal. So the 64 kalas that, they all form part of the Indian knowledge systems. And the sources of Indian knowledge systems are available both in the oral and documented forms, in the form of folklores, in the form of stories that go, and in the form of puppetry, cultural outpourings of creativity. Those also we find. And this Vidya that we were looking at, we told that we kind of sort of exposed ourselves to the idea that Vidya is something that is liberating, and this Vidya is something that is universal and holistic, and it is sustainable knowledge. It's a knowledge that sustains us. But is it possible for us to directly access Vidya? Is it possible for us to directly absorb this universal or holistic or sustainable knowledge when we look at it from that perspective? What we find is the assimilation of this Vidya is actually going through a two-step process in the Indian scenario. So this holistic or the universal understanding, what we call as Akhandam Jnanam, immutable knowledge, which is Vidya, is usually captured in the form of Darshana. Darshana means view, world view. So different worldviews are arising out of the perspectives with which Vidya is being approached. So somebody is looking at Vidya from a, for example, if I want to say, somebody wants to look at Vidya from a well-being perspective. So then they start probing about what is well-being, what is the cause of well-being, what is health, what is the cause of good health, what causes disease. So then you have a kind of a perspective with which you approach knowledge. And then you might be thinking about safety as one of the perspectives that you want to look at. So then you have you have one kind of knowledge system evolving. Then you look at financial safety, for example. Then there is one system. So your perspectives, your worldviews pertaining to what comprises knowledge according to you. What kind of knowledge is useful to you? If you want to start approaching the Vidya from that perspective, what emerge out of them are the darshanas, are the worldviews. So there are different darshanas, like essentially thought, those which are probing. So like, for example, you have logic and reasoning, which is considered to be a darshana. And then you have a worldview that, like Vedanta, for example, that probes into the existence of, forms, the animate and inanimate world. So considerations of those. So we find that, and then you have Vaisheshika as a darshana, which looks at the physical matter around what is the nature of matter, that has evolved into this creation of the world. So we find that these perspectives with which Vidya is approached come about as darshanas. But again, these darshanas are also experiential. It's only some thinkers of very high, contemplative capacity who are able to have this kind of meta, conception of knowledge. So deep and, profound kind of knowledge. So when they want to teach to their, students, their pupils, what they delineate is Shastram. So Shastram is a framework of knowledge in the maybe textual or oral, which actually provides a reason-based, because the experience that the thinker has is not possible for us to share at one go. One has to go through that contemplative process to be able to absorb the darshana at its stage. And because a learner is not yet there, there has to be a pathway where the learner can approach the darshana. And there, what is possible to appeal is intellect, by reason and by rational. So Shastras are for the purpose of teaching and learning and propagation of that particular knowledge system, which provide knowledge, which provide particular, disseminate the worldview in the form of a rational and in the form of a reason-based, exposition, right? And what is unique about the system of Indian knowledge systems is that this accumulated knowledge which we have, it's a very long civilization. So we do have a vast quantum of accumulated knowledge, and the output in the form of this accumulation of knowledge, it has been incorporated or disseminated through scientific treatises, which is what we call as shastras. And we have these shastras are not static knowledge systems. These are always recontextualized. They are composed based on newer theories coming into being, and they are adaptable. So we find that there has been adaptation. You have Prachina Nyaya and you have Navina Nyaya. You have a system of Prachina is older school of Nyaya and a new school of neo logicians and the older logicians. We have Prachina Vyakarana, Navya Vyakarana. So this kind of adaptability and trying to incorporate changes based on whatever are the knowledge elements that get developed from a previous between a previous knowledge system and the contemporary time is always brought into existence. So when we look at how is it relevant for us, is this particular knowledge system, how is it relevant for us from a contemporary life and work scenario? What we find is this knowledge system is not just an academic body of knowledge. It is not something that provides us with an understanding of the world around. It keeps the experiencer in the center and the cognizer in the center, and the cognizer's perspective, the cognizer's experience with the world and how this world interacts with the individual is what is also taken into account. So whenever there is a shastra that has been, we find that shastras address, there are different shastras, and these shastras address the requirements, the knowledge requirements of individuals at physical level, which includes their material and physical wellness, at social level, at psychological level, at intellectual level, and at the spiritual level also. So we find that Indian knowledge systems are a system of thought which are taking the person, taking an individual as a layered entity which requires attention and absorption and knowledge at various levels, and it provides, for example, when you look at yoga, it has its impact at it impacts the psychological, not just the physical. When we look at asana, we consider that pranayama, asana, all these are aspects of physical development or improvement, but that's not the case. When we go to core yoga, they address not just the physical but also the social, psychological, intellectual, and spiritual aspects. We find this element in almost every shastra, which looks at an individual's requirement from a layered approach. This is something very unique in the Indian knowledge systems. So when we say that Indian knowledge systems has been, it allows for adaptability, it brings in this idea of contemporizing. Does it really do it? Does it have a mechanism with which it does it? We find that there are at least 3 streams of mechanism wherein contemporization is done from time to time. One is the tradition of learning, which is Vidya, and then you have the tradition of commenting, which is Vyakhya, and you have a tradition of debate, which is Vada. So we find that the tradition of learning, there is mostly, when we look at Indian knowledge systems, both from Shastra perspective and Kala perspective. So traditional, knowledge systems, TKS as we call them, they have a mostly unbroken Guru Shishya Parampara. So when we look at the Kalas, for example, sculpting, right? The sculpture is the Thapati, who is a sculptor, will usually give for play to his child. he will give this, all these small equipment, these tools to play with. So we find that this schooling for kalas or tantra vidyas and occupations is there. And then you have, for the intellectual, learning traditions, you have the gurukulas and the pathshalas. And then in the case of tradition of commenting, we see that texts are commented over a period of thousands of years. So some text, Sutrakara does a sutra in 6th century BC. Till today, we have commentaries that are being written on that particular work. What do they do in commentaries? What do they exactly comment about again and again and again? I mean, if it's already been commented twice or thrice, why more commentaries? Say, for example, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has been written in, they say it's around 5,000 years back. Okay, fine. We have so many commentaries of Bhagavad Gita still coming. And, we have translations of Bhagavad Gita. What do they really do? Does it really require so much of commenting? When we look at it from that perspective, what we find is that one thing, of course, is to elucidate and clarify the text. But then you also have, with the passage of time, there are questions that are raised on the system of thought, on the theories that have been proposed. So these questions are taken and considered and seen whether the theory is robust enough to answer this, or does the theory need tinkering, that sort. And so clarifications are provided. And in this way, with passage of time, whatever amendments need to be made to the, Shastra, to the tradition, those are added on through the commentary. And then, of course, in the debate, you always, you have the idea of the older system of thought being attacked by a newer, system of thought. That can be subsumption, or if the newer theory is not robust enough, the older one persists. So this sort of, arrangement of knowledge systems it keeps happening. So there is a inbuilt contemporizing mechanism that is available in Indian knowledge systems, which has been going on for, many centuries. And we can see that this is a live tradition. So how do we complement CKs with IKS to gain the edge? If you want to look at that, what we find in this, this 21st century skills that have been, we have this World Economic Forum also releasing these skill sets, 21st century skill sets that are required for us to enable, to bring in sustainability, or to bring in, to have a future-proof learning, if we want to consider. Then it does not limit itself to only academic competency. Of course, there is foundational literacy, but in order to be able to sustain oneself in, our, jobs or our occupations, or not just that much, but also to have even to the level of self-actualization. How do we elevate ourselves, evolve ourselves from where we are to where we want to be? We find that it is not enough for us to have only knowledge. What we also need are skills and attitudes. Right? So what we find, and what we are also finding, is that these skills are not static. This list of skills is always, we find that the World Economic Forum is providing a, set of 10, skills, 21st century skills in 2015. And then in 2020, they have a different skill set, either rearranged in order, some of them coming in, some more skills being added to the list and all that. So what we find is that this is an rapidly evolving sort of learning that is required. And this learning is not limited just to the academic updation that is, happening in our knowledge systems that we, pertain to. But it is also, we should also be able to gain the skills and attitudes that are required for, sustaining ourselves in our in our work life. So what we see is that in Indian knowledge systems, which is inherently seamless in the sense that in contemporary knowledge systems, we have this idea of multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary, research and study that is coming in a big way these days. So we feel that, knowledge systems have to be multidisciplinary, research has to be multidisciplinary. But in Indian knowledge systems, what we find is the Shastras or the Darshanas are not, there are a lot of overlaps. One leads to the other, one borrows from the other. it is always a give and take. What they think, what their thought processes is that knowledge is not watertight. You cannot have watertight compartments of, only this forms this, Shastra, this much is only the part of the Shastra, nothing else comes into this. This is not the approach. We find that inherently Indian knowledge systems has a seamless approach, and that's why we are able to traverse into different knowledge areas when we start our study with Indian knowledge systems. And the learning focus is on imparting. When the education, when we see in Indian knowledge systems, it is on imparting knowledge, skill, attitude, and character, all of these. Part and parcel of the learning and teaching process, right? So this naturally enables a person who is, in the contact of this kind of a knowledge system to have a sustained and a stable life and work, because they do understand the assimilation is not only of academic knowledge, but also of the, for example, critical thinking, for example, team building, and then ethics. Of course, ethics, dharma is very, very central to Indian knowledge system. So character building, we find that these are woven into the knowledge system intrinsically. So if we want to look at how to enrich or enhance contemporary knowledge systems, as I mentioned earlier, we are not here to compete. IKS is not considered as a competitor to the CKS, but when we look at how it can enhance, how IKS applications can enhance CKS, we find that all of you being computer science professionals, you all would have already also been introduced to this idea of how Panini's Vyakarana, rules of grammar that have been devised by Panini, are helpful in natural language processing and machine learning, as well as in of course computational linguistics, speech therapy, large language modeling, big data analysis, discourse analysis. Not just Vyakarana. It's not only in Vyakarana that we find these kind of applications. The meta rules that are provided through the Vyakarana machine, we call the Ashtadhyayi, which is Panini's treatise in Vyakarana, as a language machine, which practically works like an algorithm wherein you can drop in a particular dhatu and generate words out of it. And it's possible for us to analyze language from a semantic perspective, from a pragmatic perspective. So all of this is possible, and we are able to see that we are also able to use these rules to assist AI. We are able to provide it in the form of algorithms to systems to be able to use these rules for processing, computational linguistics, and things like that. And then we have the idea of Sankhya's Prakriti, composed of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, which is very, very, which is the governing principle of matter and mind. So this abstraction of matter, material, as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, or Prakriti as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, is capable, it gives a handle for us to be able to classify and characterize human minds, matter, all of these from a very manageable, handleable perspective. So for example, when you look at psychology, when you're able to characterize whether this person is sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, it helps us to kind of, and because this particular system, Sankhya and Yoga, provide us with means and methodologies to be able to elevate somebody who is in a very depressive state of mind to a better state of mind. So how to manipulate mind, right? Whether we look at it from an aesthetics perspective. So why do I call it manipulate? Somebody who's in a very bad state of mind listens to a very pleasant song. The next moment your mind is on a happy note. So it is possible for us to manipulate our state of mind from one form to the other. And how do we do it is something that we have in great detail, the Navarasas. And when we look at the Sahitya perspective, we have the idea of Navarasas, which is not just giving us an understanding that there are 9 kinds of emotions, but also dealing with how do you instigate these emotions, or how do you subdue these emotions. Somebody who is in a very high state of Raudra, how do you bring that person down to Shanta? So it is not a mere, it is a technology that works with human mind, basically. So we find that this idea of Prakriti from an abstracted governing principle perspective, we find that it is very useful in psychology, aesthetics, sociology, cognitive studies, and then law and judiciary, education. How do you enhance the learning of a person? How do you identify what is the nature of a particular learner, right? So we do have pedagogy which says kinesthetic and all that, fine. But can there be a deeper perspective to it? And can there be a way in which we will be able to customize learning based on learner needs? So these sort of research is possible when we approach CKS with IKS as an application. And then when we look at models of aesthetics in Natya and Sahitya, we find that they are very useful with arts, with design, with architecture, fashion design, audiovisual media, event management. So I'm just listing some of the areas in contemporary knowledge systems where IKS applications can be taken in and assimilated. And then you have, for of course, health and wellness. When we look at it from yoga, Ayurveda, Siddha, etc., you obviously have a lot of opportunity. And we also find there are certain new areas of research like sustainability, governance, leadership, economics. So Indic sociology, when we look at the humanities side of it. Traditional games and sports is gaining a lot of attention now. And then Indian shipping, because Indian maritime was considered to be, it was one of the most robust maritime systems. We were able to ply ships to as far as Africa and beyond. So maritime navigation is one area where studies it's being now looked into as to how they studied the skies and all of those, and how they navigated, what kind of material they used for shipbuilding and things like that. So these are some new areas which are still evolving, and we are looking for research by bringing in IKS there. So this is basically what I wanted to put across. I wanted to share briefly with all of you. If there are anything for us to discuss, I'm most glad to take discussions.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Venkatesan.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, like, most of them are belonging from the IT background. With the artificial intelligence you touched upon, how does the mental health help you on our IKS?
Mental health, you mean?
Yes.
Mental health is actually one of the areas that IKS excels in, because we have different knowledge systems that are focused on this particular idea of mental health, including yoga, Ayurveda, we have Vedanta, and then we also have Sahitya, Natya Shastra. The Natya Shastra itself is a compendium on mental health, because see, the analysis that is done in all of these is they take mind as a phenomena and try to probe into what are its states, how how these states can be handled, what causes these states of mind, what are the different means by which we will be able to change their current positions. So all of this is basically discussed in great depth. When we look at, for example, yoga, we are very much restricted to only looking at asana and pranayama. We don't go beyond that. In fact, there are 2 steps before asana, and there are asana and pranayama. There are 2 steps before that which are preparatory for your mental health, which are yama and niyama. It is completely overlooked when we look at common yoga program. They don't talk about yama and niyama at all, but yama and niyama are basically the mental preparation that you need to do for yourself. So yama is for your self-control, to be able to gain mental stability, focus, concentration. And niyama is your how do you interact with the other person, right? With the external world. So behavior with yourself, behavior with the external world. Both of these, how do you do? Only then you start with asana, essentially. So asana, pranayama, follow these. And after that also, when you go into dhyana, dharana, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, all of these are actually studying mind. And it is not just looking at mind from a observation perspective. They are giving you parameters to measure your progress. So when you look at the definitions of, say, pratyahara or of pranayama or dhyana, dharana, all of these, if you are somebody who's practicing yoga, Ashtanga yoga, you will be able to compare your state of mind with that definition, and it's a parametric system which is able to delineate exactly what are your experiences when you have this particular state of mind, right? So that is the kind of precision.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I leave the floor open for the others. Sorry.
Yes, no problem. So there is a query on, how it is helpful for education. I added some slides later once I saw this, these queries. So I will just quickly run through those particular slides because they address this question directly. So can I share? Is my screen being shared now?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay. So when we look at, this is all in Sanskrit language, but please don't get, because this was a last minute thing that I added. Basically, education, when we look at knowledge systems, how knowledge systems are developed in Indian knowledge systems, if we look at. So I already mentioned this very briefly in my, where I mentioned, but I think we can focus on that to understand. On the left side, you have the Prayojana Vakyas, the purpose statement of each Shastra. Okay, so Artha Shastra, which is something that is based in economy and material science, it says Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha, Dharmasya Moolam Artha. Why do you want to study Artha Shastra? Because Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha. Because if you want happiness, the source of happiness is in Dharma, and to attain that Dharma, you need Artha. So I am studying Artha Shastra. Then you have Prajapalanam Dhanurvedasya Prayojanam. What is the purpose of Dhanurveda is for protecting the citizens. And Dharmataha Sadhu Samrakshanam. So this everywhere you can see this. And how do you do this? By adhering to Dharma. So I create the Dhanurveda approaching Dharma. I create Artha Shastra approaching Dharma. And then you have Ayurveda. It says Dharmartha Kama Mokshanam Arogyam Moolam Uttamam. If you want to attain Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Arogya is essential. Your health is essential. So in order to be able to attain Dharma, Sharira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam, because your body is the first tool for you to be able to attain Dharma. For that sake, I am doing Ayurveda. So somebody is approaching achievement of Dharma by creating a Shastra that will maintain the health. Somebody is creating a Shastra that will take care of security. That somebody is taking a Shastra that is somebody who is going to take care of financial stability. Athato Dharma Jignasa. In Mimamsa, the very beginning is Dharma Jignasa. Why are you creating this Shastra? Because I want to understand Dharma. Right? So in this particular system, Vidya, knowledge, is something that is indispensably connected, invariably connected with ethics, with Dharma. So there was one more question as to how does philosophy and ethics in the West compare to Indian systems. If that was a question. The idea is that I will not call Dharma only as ethics. Ethics is one of the aspects of Dharma. The best definition or best kind of understanding you can take of Dharma is sustainability. Something if you want to do for long in a sustained manner, you should do it in an orderly way. Only then it will sustain, right? Otherwise, you will have short spurts of success, but then it will fizzle out because it will bring some, bad repercussions along with it. So it is not sustainable. For something to be sustainable, it should have a long-term, scope for movement, and that will be unobstructed movement, which will be possible only when you do something from wellness perspective, well-being perspective, where more people can participate, well, all people can participate. So that is dharma. That kind of sustenance is dharma, basically. So all vidyas, all knowledge systems were created for sustenance. So sustenance of health, sustenance of material wealth, sustenance of rashtra, of the country, sustenance of some other things, say maybe mental health, sustenance of arts and architecture, all of these. So you build a building, you build a building and it's standing for 1,000 years in spite of being built on sand and after a tsunami. That is sustainability, right? That's sustenance, basically. So we know that Rameshwaram temple is standing there for so many amount of years, and Rameshwaram is a sandy bank. It's a ocean bank, and it's standing there in spite of all the amount of torrential rains and things that it faces. So we see that this idea of sustenance is something which is very deeply ingrained in the Indian knowledge process, and which is why we consider that this governance, this vidya and dharma are so much into each other that they are inseparable. So what exactly is this dharma? What exactly is this? When we say, after writing 1 lakh shlokas of Mahabharata, Vyasa says, not just 1 lakh shlokas of Mahabharata, he has also written 18 Puranas along with it. He says, Vyasasya vachana dvayam. I only have 2 things to say about dharma. Paropakaraha punyaya, papaya parapidanam. Being able to help others is good and troubling others is bad. That's it. This is all you need to know after all what I have written, right? So it is something that, so this idea of sustenance is central to vidya, to knowledge in Indian systems. And India, the knowledge perspectives that we see, particularly from the Darshana view, in the Indian knowledge systems has an understanding that there is no one way. It is a more kind of a democratic think tank, which allows people to have different perspectives, different views. So you can view the world from a particular perspective as long as it serves some purpose. It should not be a vague, it should not be because you fancy the world to be like this and this is how I want it. No, it should be able to serve a specific purpose. And if a particular view is able to, for example, when we look at Vyakarana looks at the world as only 2 entities, Shabda and Artha, over. They don't have a third entity. It's only Shabda and Artha, ultimately assimilated into Shabda. Shabda is the only principle that they speak of, right? So but that serves their purpose of being able to mechanize language, which is such a dynamic entity. So you can imagine if Ashtadhyayi was written with just 4,000 sutras, the entire rule of language in just 4,000 aphorisms. It's not even a 4,000 sentences. It is 4,000 aphorisms that has a coverage of language across centuries. And you all know language is such a dynamic phenomena, right? So to be able to, that is universality, that is holistic, knowledge. So if you are able to derive that kind of a system of thought, then that worldview is, something that is fruitful. So world ontology, according to Indian knowledge systems, that is why you have so many schools of thought. So these are all considered to be different views. So while Vidya is one and holistic, that Vidya can be viewed from multiple perspectives, and each person can derive for their own benefit, for whatever they consider as a universal benefit that they want to put forth because of their knowledge. They can bring up these knowledge systems. It is possible. They allow it. And when we look at the Indic ontology, they are represented through the darshana. Now by now we know that darshana is a worldview, and we also know what is shastra, that it is a delineated view of to understand the higher knowledge. And since the view cannot be shared in experience, the Darshanika attempts to appeal to the intellect of the seekers through a reason-based exposition, orally or through treatises, right? So ontology of domain reality is presented in Shastras as a well-connected conceptual web. So when you look at a periodic table, the whole world is looked upon, this periodic table is world. So every entity in this world that you bring in can be, so you bring any item, you can count it into, so you are able to say that, okay, this particular, empirical object has a composition of 1, 2, 3, H2O. You are able to point. So it's a world view. It's a way in which you're able to view world. Similarly, we have different world views in Indian knowledge systems, like the Saptapadarthas of the Nyaya or the Panchavimshati Tattva, the 25 Tattvas of Sankhya. All of these world views are available, which serve specific purposes. So when we look at the Indian ontology, what it does is it gives you a frame of discussion. And this frame of discussion is a labeled frame of discussion. So it is saying this is world. If I want to say what is, world according to Nyaya, if you have seen this particular picture, this is world according to Nyaya. That's it. You just need to know this much to know the world according to Nyaya. Okay. So this is giving you a labeled idea of what world is, and within this frame you will find all the contexts and placements that you require without fail. Now once this is fixed, the learner can navigate through this at will. You don't need to teach, right? You can tell them, now you go, now this is Dravya and Guna are connected. Can Karma and Guna be connected or not? So these kind of probes can be done by the learner themselves. You just have to give them this frame. So basically this idea of learner being, inquiry oriented, they only need a map, right? You give them a map and then you tell them, I want to go to such and such place, right? Say, for example, you give the map of Coimbatore and say, I want to go to Ichinari, Ganapati temple. You give it to any learner of your class, each of them will be able to show you a particular route. Ma'am, you can go like this. Sir, you can go like this. You can also go like this. So they themselves become capable of navigating. All you need to provide them is with that particular map, right? So that is what Darshana is able to provide to you. And when we look at the relevance of IKS methodology in the modern education, we find that the idea of providing you a concept and allowing you to navigate, right? And through experience, to be able to practice it, say, for example, in case of yoga, in case of aesthetics, in case of, material sciences like Ayurveda, are you able to find the, relevant inputs and outcomes? These are testable, sort of things, and which are, it's provided as a conceptual framework, basically. And we don't have this dichotomy or this compartmentalization of science and art. We don't have the debate of science versus art. What we understand in the Indian knowledge system perspective is art has a science and science has an art. So when you are able to systematize the idea of art, you are looking at the science, art as a science. And when you are able to bring in creativity and innovation into science, then you are, adding in the element of art into science. So both are not considered to be completely, diametrically different kind of subject areas. Like we have a compartmentalization of commerce. The streaming is not there. We only have Shastra. We don't have this kind of stream-based learning in, Indian knowledge systems. And we find that the meta systems, meta models and meta frameworks that are available in Indian knowledge systems are very, very useful as scientific frameworks. We find that there is a definition of definition. How do you define? Right? So this, it is a big discussion. If you look into the Shastric texts, they will ask you, they will tell you how to define. What is a definition? How do you define definition? So this kind of discussions, these they are, where they are able to provide you with insights into what knowledge is. It's not just knowing, it's knowing about knowledge. So that meta idea, if you see, the discussions are very deep and profound in many knowledge systems. It's not just only one or two. So you go to Nyaya, you go to Vyakarana, you go to Mimamsa, you go to Vedanta. Epistemology is such a strong, area of thought, area of learning in Indian knowledge systems. And then, of course, I already spoke about contemporizing. I'll not go into it. So just consider this scenario as teachers. Suppose you enter a huge mall and move around, or you alight from a flight in an airport, right? And consider that all labels that show the way out to exit are removed. You just think you're in an airport. You have alighted from a flight and you need to go out to take a taxi, but there is no exit label anywhere. So, and consider that it's a really huge airport, some airport like, say, for example, Mumbai airport or a Bangalore airport, something like that, right? So in that case, now remember, it is a huge building that you are navigating. And how will you come out without the exit labels? How much will you walk around, right? Now, this is exactly what our learners are going through. All knowledge systems have the world as their domain. When you take it as either geography, chemistry, biology, you take physics, language, art, whatever. They don't know what is the landscape that they are navigating. No signboards to maneuver. They are just given random concepts. Who decides what goes into the first standard, what goes into the second standard, and does it give the big picture? Does it give the layout of the airport anywhere? Does it give the layout of the knowledge system anywhere, right? Do they have an idea of what is the landscape of the overview of physics when they are doing BSc physics or MSc physics? Or I'm just taking some names, but do they have it? So how do they navigate and maneuver into it? So Indic ontology is an illustrative representation of the world from a top view that covers the domain landscape and allows learners to traverse it at will. Now, because this kind of a overview is available, this is usually given as a beginner's learner. For example, Tarka Sangraha is the first text that you will be taught if you learn Nyaya. It will give you the entire landscape of Nyaya, right? And after that, it becomes very easy to assimilate the subject matter, and you know where you're going, why you're going, where you're going. So the concept of darshana gives a paradigm to teachers and learners to fix the frame and context of knowledge discipline that is being discussed, and it encourages research by opening scope to have a worldview, not just subject. It's not just the concept or the subject that you want to delve into, but you are providing a worldview to peep into the thought process of the creators of the science. You are giving a entry into the thinker's brain and other knowledge disciplines, and create or evaluate ontologies to understand the world phenomena with better clarity. So teachers can gain better depth in their subject knowledge by mapping the worldviews rather than repeating the theories of the textbooks. Providing the ontologies, teachers can enable learners to derive theories. I have already tried doing this with my learners, by giving them a language phenomena. I have tried using Vyakarana and, Sandhi rules. I got them to make the Sandhi rules instead of teaching them the Sandhi rules out of the, Vyakarana text. So you give them the landscape and then you make them do it, and also widen the scope of application and create new knowledge. So are we equipping our learners to be able to create new knowledge? Or are they only, and is research actually generating, new knowledge, or is it just, am I able to just open some corners that were, closed so far? Is that what we are doing with our teaching, is what we need to be conscious about. So that much from me. I'm so sorry. I think I have crossed a lot of, time is beyond my, what I have been allotted.
I think couple of people raise their hands. You can ask their questions.
Yes, sure. I'm sorry, actually, I can't see the hands. I just came back to this.
Sorry, Lalita ma'am, you can ask the question.
Anybody who has questions can ask them now, please.
Can I go?
Hello.
I am Amrit.
Yes, Amritji, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so it was a lovely presentation, ma'am. Thank you for that regarding the Indian knowledge system. I can very well associate with the thing which you said about Vidya. Actually, we read it in class 6. Vidya dadati vinayam vinayadiyati patratam. So that's how we have been nurtured. Ma'am, my interest was actually also related when you dig deep into the presentation. You said something about yoga, asana, right? What we are trying to do is we are actually trying to understand the human emotions vis-a-vis the human brain, okay, through our initiative. Okay, so can we have some insight regarding the ragas? Okay, there are various ragas like Rag Bhimpalati. We have the Bhupali Rag, Yaman Rag, Bhairav and Darbari. Now, in context of the as of now, the Indians, the human brain. Okay, we know that through some theories and various abstracts which we have gone through, that many of the ragas should be played at certain time, and it cures certain things related to mental anxiety or mental health or emotion, to calm down or to peace their soul. Like supposedly, if I cite out an example, like Rag Bhimpalati is heard mostly during the afternoon, and it cures to some sort of anxiety of humans. Okay, so how valid are these things? Because we are kind of researching around these fields as well. So would you love to give some insights around that?
Let me put a disclaimer first. I'm not an expert in Sangeeta Shastra, but I can kind of understand it's not just of the aesthetic value of, that is being spoken of when we are looking at it from a nada perspective. Nada is sound. So sound as a means of moving the mind, right? So what we are actually doing with the ragas is basically playing with the frequencies of the sound, right? So how sound frequencies impact mind, how they influence mind, is basically the bottom line, I would say, of how Sangeeta Shastra prescribes certain, things like this has to be, Bhupali needs to be sung at the morning, and then you have Bhimpalasi in the afternoon and things like that. So what is most conducive kind of sound frequency that is capable of providing you with particular states of mind? We need to understand, from at least from the Indian knowledge perspective, mind is matter, sound is matter, right? And matter is capable of influencing. So there is always a reaction that is being spoken of when we are looking at it. And sound being something that moves in waves, and it has a frequency. And mind being a matter that is, for us, we still don't know. From the Indian perspective, we do know that it's a metaphysical entity. So it is matter, influencing matter, basically. So I think it's from this perspective, and how aesthetics, for example, the idea of these rasa, some emotions that can be created
Yes.
by particular actions, by particular emotions. Abhinaya can give rise to rasa, nada can give rise to rasa, prana can give it. Pranayama can also, it's possible for you to regulate your mind, to think deeper, to come out of your particular, even for physical ailments, you can use prana. So we find that all of these shastras are essentially for you to be enabled to tune your mind into a particular state of, being through influence, through a matter, interacting with matter kind of a thing is what I feel. That's my basic understanding if I want to think from a, Indian knowledge system perspective. That's my idea. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm Collector Owen from Karigudi, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I'm a research scholar. I have a doubt in the HR management and governance. Where is the origin in the Indian knowledge system?
Okay. Let me bring about this idea of, this is actually a completely different discussion altogether. I don't know whether I'll be able to, I'll try to be as brief as possible. In
Okay.
Indian knowledge systems, Vidya is considered to be eternal. Okay. Eternal means it doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have an end. So we consider in Indian knowledge systems that Vedas, which is a repository of sounds, okay, as apaurushaya, not something that has been created by any human being. This is the case of all Vidyas. And in the Indian view, time is not linear. So this idea of historicity, when something started, when something ends, is not something that is natural to Indian way of thinking. We consider that time is cyclical. Okay. And we consider that knowledge is also something that is present at all times. It is not something that you can create or invent or bring in something out of the blue. What is possible is for us to be able to tune into a particular idea, to document it in time is possible. But it is not, we do not understand in the Indian knowledge perspective that Vidya at any point in time has a beginning or has an end, right? So that being the case, the knowledge of governance, the knowledge of leadership, the knowledge of arts, the knowledge of sciences, the knowledge of empirical sciences, knowledge of health, knowledge of mathematics, you name it, all this is what we find is that all these Vidya has, the Vidyas are ever present. So when we are naming somebody like, Arthashastra was written by Chanakya. Chanakya himself mentions 10 people before him who have done Arthashastra. Vyakarana, Ashtadhyayi, when we take, Panini mentions 10 people before him in his book. So we look at it from a perspective that these people are not the creators, but they are revealing what they have assimilated. When they tune into a deeper contemplation, what appears to them in their that contemplative state, that state of focus and concentration with a particular purpose in mind, when they have that kind of focus and concentration, what is revealed to them is what is knowledge. So we do not consider that any particular Vidya came into existence somewhere and and it's not something that I cannot say 2nd century BC, 3rd century. It's not the case. We do not have that kind of a conception, because time always runs in cycles. Some Vidya will come into being after a point in time. It can become lupta. It can become it can become unmanifest. Something will suddenly manifest, something will unmanifest. So depending on what is valued at that particular period in time, things will come, the knowledge will that is required will be contemplated upon. This is very natural for all of us. For example, if there was COVID, we will search for, we are all frantically looking for a vaccine for COVID. At that point in time, you will focus and concentrate on it. So whatever is the social requirement at that point in time, that particular Vidya will manifest because people will focus on it at that particular time. And once the utility is gone, it will become again unmanifest for a long period of time. Then it will come back when it is required. So this is the kind of understanding of having a cyclical time period and having a large landscape of Vidya, timeless landscape of Vidya. That is the understanding.
Okay, ma'am. Having one more doubt, ma'am. Is it possible to research in the knowledge system in ancient Tamil kingdoms?
Absolutely possible. Of course, there has been not just Tamil. You can look into every single region of India, for that matter, the entire world. It is possible for us to map our itihasas and see the way civilizations have survived and how they came into being. And there are remnants, only that we don't search. We don't think that it is required to search. Basically, this idea of scientism, right, this evolutionism, that has given us an understanding that whatever is in past can be buried. We just need to go and look for things in the future, create new future. This idea of creating new future, and all that is old is not advanced, very bad. That's what I would, because having gone through the kind of ideas that not just Indian civilization, but many other civilizations, the kind of understanding that they have about human beings, about human nature, completely overridden by our modern I would say blindness rather. So if we want to be really approaching advanced knowledge, we should be going back, not forward.
Ma'am, the last question, Vande Mataram, they have VM who has raised his hand.
Yes.
Very good evening, ma'am.
Thank you.
Excellent session, ma'am. Excellent session.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm a doctoral research scholar from Anna University Regional Campus, Bangalore. So I'm
Okay.
working on diseases predictions. So how does this Indian knowledge system, like the process, cure the diseases like a dementia or whatever, autism in brain of children? Is there anything how to substantiate in the curing process, in the production process for any kind of dementia or diseases?
Yes, yes. So basically, diagnosis starts from understanding the cause of dementia or autism or things like that. Because what we find is that these kind of manifestations are coming up in big way very recently, right? There are a lot of when we look at not just from medicinal perspective, but we are also looking at auditory, say for example, how to use sound to activate cognitive areas of the brain, because we need to create those synapses, right, to be able to create those cognitive synapses in our brain. See, basically what we understand in the Indian perspective is brain is brain is only a physical entity. What we are actually enhancing is the intellect, right? The idea of intelligence. So there are, for example, now as Amritji mentioned about sound being used for therapeutic things. These are experiments that are underway, but the understanding of what causes this kind of lapses in intelligence or cognitive, disorders and things are available in the, they need to be correlated. Some research has to be brought in place where we are able to accept that systems like Ayurveda and yoga can be considered as a diagnostic or a therapeutic tool for modern medicine, rather than limiting themselves. So when we look at either Nadi Pariksha as a method, or looking at Yama Niyama as a method of trying to bring in focus, things like that. So if we are able to look at those kind of aspects, if it's possible for us to put together, use Indian knowledge systems as at least a tool, if not a mainstream medium, if you are able to use them as tools of, for example, when we look at autism, we find that people are coming up with the idea that gut health is very important, is a very important factor, because autistic people usually have a very, big problem with the gut. Right? So how do you improve that? And is there a mechanism to improve gut health? Can that be done naturally without side effects?
You can
Yeah.
do one session on that particularly, ma'am. That's a very
I'm
important
not an
subject.
expert in that.
But
I'm
I'm
not
saying, as he rightly pointed out, the research scholar, this is an important factor. Thank you, ma'am. As we running, time out, I
Yes.
thought we would like to to emotion.
We can take the questions offline, sir. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It is a really an interesting session, sir.
Yeah,
We have
anybody
but
who
we
has
limit
any questions after this, please email it to the CSI office. We will forward it to madam and get you the answers. Now, may I call on
Sure.
Dr. Girisan to present the vote of thanks, please.
Girisan,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, yes.
Girisan, you can touch upon on the white coding summit on the
Yes,
June
sir.
14th.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, audio, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is my privilege and honor to deliver the vote of thanks on this enlightening session on Introduction to the Indian Knowledge System. First and foremost, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest, Dr. Vaishnavi, for taking the time to share her profound knowledge and insights with us. Thank you very much, madam, for your insights on Indian knowledge system and comparing it with the CKS. You have articulated very well, and your presentation was truly opening our minds with richness and relevance to the Indian knowledge system in today's world. We are inspired by your passion and clarity, madam. We would like to extend our appreciations to you. And as questions were raised from the audience, it would be good if you could offer the answers through email.
I will be glad to, provide whatever I can share from my knowledge. Sure.
And to all the participants, our guest will time, so it will be answered through the email. Thank you very much, madam. I also thank our chairman, Dr. L. Venkatesan, for welcoming the gathering, and Dr. Anita Sophia, our MC member, for introducing the chief guest, Mr. Durvesh, our office admin staff, for the coordination rendered. Once again, I thank all the faculty members who have joined from various institutions, and also students who are for their enthusiastic participation and thoughtful questions. Finally, I extend my gratitude to all who have joined us today and made the session a meaningful and impactful one. Let us all carry forward the wisdom gained in this meeting and explore the treasures in the Indian knowledge system with the renewed curiosity. Thank you all once again. I also thank our chief guest for taking your time. It's almost 1.5 hours now. We have started at 6. Now the time is around 7:40. Thank you, madam, and thank you all the participants.